plan. Mike Vrabel was just released from his consultantship duties as a member of the Cleveland Browns. Now, he got fired in Tennessee last year. Took some interviews in 2024. Consulted for the Browns, from what I can tell, have been an unmitigated disaster all season. But now has just climbed up the coaching rankings to the spot where he is now, I think, I'd say the most attractive coaching candidate. I hear arguments for Ben Johnson and some others, but I think Mike Vrabel is the one that's bandied about the most as a guy who can come in here and fix things, right? So, Monse, my question to you, my friend. Coach Vrabes, as Stefanski calls him, where do you think is the best place for Vrabel to go? There's a couple open jobs. Jets are open. Saints are open. And you know what? I'm even willing – I'll accept all candidates from the field. If you think somebody's getting fired and you think that's where Vrabel should go ahead.
That's a loaded question. Definitely not the Jets. I feel like nobody should want to go to the Jets. And I don't see any attraction to that team. There is so many question marks surrounding that team for so many different reasons. Definitely not the Jets. It's funny that you mention the Saints out of the two teams that you mentioned, because I do think the Saints might be an attractive place to go. There's other teams. I'm going to assume maybe the Bears are going to have an open.
No, the Bears their job's already open.
Yeah, their job, the Bears. Bears might also be a place that I would want to go. They seem to have good pieces. Like, obviously, they have question marks as well, but you seem to have good pieces around you, and maybe you just needed a better coach because we just saw so much malpractice happen with Chicago when it came to coaching in this season.
Sure.
So the talent seems to be there. So I feel like the Bears might be a place that I would like to go. Saints as well. I'm looking at what other teams may have an opening.
Jacksonville will probably have an opening.
Does Jacksonville sound attractive to you? It does not sound attractive to me.
I mean, as a place to vacation,
sure.
Not so much. But if you like the quarterback, there's worse places to be. If you like Trevor Lawrence, if you can talk yourself into Trevor Lawrence, I think there's worse places.
I think that you just said it. You have to talk yourself into it. You have to talk yourself into that.
Yeah, but I got to. Yeah. Okay, so I think the lifting of talking myself into Trevor Lawrence might be a little less than the lifting of,
dealing with certain owners. I feel like, like there's certain owners that I'm just like, do I want to deal with that? Like, which is worse to deal with, right? But Trevor Lawrence, like, you're right. If you think it's easier to talk yourself into that, then the owners, let's say Cowboys become available. I would not necessarily want to go to the Cowboys and be a head coach. That comes with a lot of responsibility, and you get a lot of blame and maybe not a lot of praise. Because if they do well, Jerry Jones is going to take the credit.
I mean, he will take the credit, but you can do. There's a lot of Cowboy coaches who didn't win anything telling you about football on Sundays and Monday through Friday.
There is. So there is positives to being the coach.
Post-career opportunities.
Correct. You're right. Like, if you deal with that, you do get a lot of credit for dealing with that, right?
I also think, this is my defense of Jerry Jones for a moment. I think that we have found overwhelmingly that this might be a newsflash, but billionaires can be a little eccentric sometimes.
Sure.
The thing with Jerry, and I get it, he does his radio show and it's front-facing and all that. But, like, if you had to pick, Monse, because there's only 32 of these head coaching jobs, right? If you had to pick between an owner who's doing a radio show twice a week and an owner who would come in the locker room, tell your backup quarterback that he sucks, right? And then also tell the front office you can't trade for a guy because he's got a 73 in Madden, right? And all the other things that we have seen from the several Jetsposés that have come out per Diana Rossini and the great people over at The Athletic who seem to be more plugged in than the light over there at Florham Park. Would you rather that? Because the options are, there are the Jed York, Robert Kraft, who else? I'm trying to think. Clark Hunt, Biscotti with the Ravens, the Rooney with the Steelers. That's like the list of good bosses in the NFL. And so it's what level of bad do you like? Like what can you tolerate?
You're not wrong about that. But I think with the Cowboys, that is there's just so much on your shoulders because it's a brand. It's not just an NFL team, it's a brand. So if you decide to go there, you just have to be willing to take a lot of heat in so many different ways. And at the same time, really get very minimal praise just because of the owner, Jerry Jones. We know you're not going in there hoping you're going to change anything. You're going in there and accepting this is the way it's going to go. And if you're okay with that, hey, more power to you because I agree with you. I think coaching the Cowboys, even if you're not successful, it might lead you to other potential avenues after the fact, right? Because you went.
Would you be surprised if you saw Mike McCarthy sitting on Colin Cowherd's couch in 6 months? Not one bit.
Mm-mm.
Would you be surprised if you see him, whatever they do on ESPN, talking to Pat McAfee? Like on Zoom from FaceTime while he's riding his bike, apparently because that's how they do all their interviews over there? I wouldn't be shocked.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. The more shocking part, Mike McCarthy be riding a bike. No, that's rude. No, but you know what I do think, though?
Dump it. Just kidding.
If Mike McCarthy won, I would be interested to know if Mike McCarthy wants back in Dallas. Everybody talk about Dallas bringing him back. If I'm Mike McCarthy, I sit back and look and say, you know what? I had 36 regular season wins prior to this year in 3 years.
Of course.
You know who else did that? Nobody but Kansas City, right? And now, sure, they ran through us in the playoffs, but you know why? Because I ain't got no damn linebackers. Why I don't got no linebackers? Because, Jerry, you're picking them. You know? I can see. I think if I'm Mike McCarthy, I think Mike McCarthy would have a robust market out there. I don't think there's a lot of slam dunk first year hires. Like you had Sean Payton 2 years ago, which I think you feel with certainty. You bring him into your organization, he'll turn things around, and sure enough, they're a game away from the playoffs, and they almost made the playoffs last year with the biggest dead cap hit in NFL history. Right? Jim Harbaugh turned the franchise that was moribund into one of the more competitive ones. And mind you, neither one of these guys won the division because the best team in the AFC resides atop of it, right?
Yeah.
So a lot can change in a year with the right guy at the helm, right? And the right program in place. So I'm like McCarthy, I think, hey, I worked with Aaron before. I go to New York.
You are definitely not wrong in wondering if McCarthy still wants to be there. Because I've thought that myself. But the question is always, will Jerry Jones extend him? That's always the question. It's never, how does he feel about it?
Mike McCarthy got to sign the extension.
Right, exactly.
And he may not feel that way. You know, it's almost like, it's like when you date, somebody's dating somebody for 10 years. It's like, well, I don't even want to get married no more. You waited all this time. I done been begging you for a ring for the last 5 years. Every time you took me out, I thought you was going to get down on one knee and propose to me at the TGI Fridays, and instead, I'm sitting here eating mozzarella sticks and potato skins.
Question before we move on to a different team that I do have a team I want to bring up. Do you think if he doesn't accept an extension with the Cowboys, that it would actually be a knock on him?
No, I think it would be a big-time knock on the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right.
I wanted you. You didn't want me back?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yes. All right. So a team that I think could maybe need a new coach, maybe, Danny G, the Raiders may be looking for a new coach, maybe, right? And I think the Raiders are an attractive team. Location, you're in Vegas. Who doesn't want to work in Vegas? And you have hey, I'm just saying, who doesn't want to work in Vegas? There's worse places to go. I think the Raiders, and they have like some weapons. They would probably get a high pick, right? Like I don't know how the pick looks for them.
They are 8th right now.
8th right
They're
now.
8th, yeah.
Danny G, do you want to move on from your coach?
I mean, there's a lot of arguing among the fan base over this right now.
It seems that way, yeah.
Because some people feel like Antonio Pierce should get another season, if not another half a season, to prove himself with a legit QB, and also the dozens of injuries this team came upon before the first game of the season even started. Their second leading sacker was Malcolm Kuntz, and he was out hurt before the first game of the season, and it just dominoed from there. So many injuries, and Antonio Pierce, not as bad as the Lions, but close, because all these guys coming in, as a diehard fan, you don't even know who half the guys on defense are. And even some of the receivers that have been thrown to, I'm like, well, when did the Raiders pick that dude up? And, I mean, these guys didn't even go to the practice squad.
Who the hell is Sincere McCormick?
I mean, they went right to the starting roster. So there's the argument there. Should AP get another choice? He made a big mistake the Raiders front office made the mistake, and he was part of it, with not getting Cliff Kingsbury as their OC. He went with Luke Getsy after that. Getsy had a chip on his shoulder from what happened in Chicago. Bad news. It was bad all the way around. Obviously, Gardner Minshew didn't work out. So that's the question, and maybe you guys can take a swing at it. Do you give AP another crack at it, but he would need a really strong OC?
If you give him another crack at it, I think he has more expectation than a brand new coach coming into a division that is competitive. So I feel like if you're a new head coach for the Raiders, you have a minute to kind of get things going because of how competitive the AFC West is already this year. What would you do, Aaron?
I think Antonio Pierce was set up to fail. Now, I'll say this in defense of Vegas. He's done nothing thus far to say, to overcome it, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could be dealt a bad hand and still win the pot, right? Depending on how things go and how everything is. I mean, Sean Payton in Denver, his first year there, you saw improvement on that team over the Nathaniel Hackett,
Sean
right?
Payton had a resume. I
understand. Well, but my point is this. You just got Tom Brady in your ownership group. He's going to make the next head coaching hire. Antonio Pierce has been a dead man walking since the start of the season. It was going to take him to win the division type of thing for him to stick around. And I don't even know. He could be an average coach. I don't know if he's bad. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? The roster is not good enough for me to determine whether or not he is a terrible coach or not. Like, I think he has a ton to work on, but I can't drill it down all the way. But he could have been above average, and Brady was going to make this next hire, because that's what you do when you spend millions of dollars to join a team. You take control of it.
Yeah, and of course, all arrows are pointing towards Brady's buddy, Vrabel. There's been rumors of this for weeks now. But do you want to work with your friend? That doesn't always work out so
the way you
great.
think. Yeah.
But these guys, the two of them, I know Brady Quinn on our network was talking about it, how they have a strong enough relationship to where they could probably overcome working together. But Brady's going to make the call on quarterback, and he's going to have a ton of influence on what happens with a head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, too, I agree with you. Generally, you can't work with your friends. I would say with an asterisk saying, but what if you made those friends at work? Like, it wasn't like Vrabel and Tom were like drinking buddies in high school, right? Yeah. It's like, no. They won championships together, and as a result, should have an understanding of what, each other's level.
Very similar philosophy.
Exactly.
Yeah.